6 and 7 on Sunday. If you're watching this, the 21st, Merry Christmas, everybody. Making spirit bright there on my shirt. Thanks for that gift. But what a week. If you at all were following the shorts and the videos I did, I traveled across country for the past 2 weeks. I missed last week's live. My apologies. But it was a great thing to travel, be gone for that long. And I met some good old friends that I had went to college with, went to middle school, high school with, and was able to do a bunch of interviews along the way. So that was great. Other than, watch the video about me hitting a stupid deer in northeast Texas, right above Dallas. Anyway, so thank you for having me back. I appreciate it. But yeah, it was a very fun trip. Look at my video I just put up this morning called Adventures from the Open Road. Take a look at that. And I kind of went through the whole thing. Did a lot of stuff for my grandfather, laid his ashes at multiple places that him and I went to and places that he loved. And I just love visiting with him on that one. But it was good. I'm going to do a follow-up, like a grand thing of the whole scenario as well. But so we'll look at that one. Some of the interviews were able to do. I did two in a place called McKinney, Texas, with some college friends of mine that I knew from back in the day. One was Dr. Paul Chabot, and a good video about him. Guy is, like I said in the video, he's reinvented himself several times, always comes out on top, and it was fantastic. And then there was a guy named Anthony Garcia, a friend of mine. He, Preventing Drug Use is what the name of the title on that one was, but that's kind of his job, is helping youth and individuals to either stay off drugs or get off drugs, whatever it was. And he enlightened me on a lot of stuff that was happening with the youth of the next generation. I mean, my kids are in their early 20s, but this is the generation that are like, 12 years old, 13 years old, addicted to drugs. It's craziness to me to see that one. So please watch those. And I did a kind of a funny one. It was supposed to be comedic. I think it came out pretty good. My buddy, he played rugby. He had his entire face smashed in. That was Kevin Roberts. Look at that one. So why playing rugby is worth the pain and what it meant to his daughters. That's the title of the whole thing. And we went through it, and I kind of made fun of him, but he's the guy I've known probably the longest since middle school, and that's been showcased on this video anyway. And then I did one on taxes on tips explained, which is actually doing really well as far as viewership goes. So went through what the one big beautiful bill meant for taxes, because somebody that I know actually shared my video, so thank you for doing that. And then what happened was this guy responded to that shared video, and I didn't like the way he said it. I didn't like the way he responded. I didn't like his TDS syndrome. So it was one of those things where, yeah, we need to talk. So I put that video up on there, Taxes on Tips Explained. So everybody's kind of checking in right now. So hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I appreciate it. Lamont Cheatham and is it Maribee Raff? I'm not sure, but anyway, hey, we are at 395 subscribers right now. I wanted to hit 500 by the end of the year, which the end of the year is what, in 10 days. So that might be a little difficult overall, but if we can hit 400 by the end of the night, is that a possibility? We'll try and look at that. Anyway, so there's that one. We did a bunch of shorts too. You'll look at that. That was mostly the trip from the road, and I had a lot of fun with that one. So I put a couple up today, and a couple other broken down ones too. But you'll see a lot of different backgrounds in a lot of those too, because I was just traveling all over the place. We went from Tennessee, eastern Tennessee, to Southern California. We took the southern route from 40 down to 30, down to 20, down to the 10 interstate. Then down to the 8 as we hit Yuma, going through across there, and then back up, and we came back through 40, coming all the way to Amarillo, and then cutting across all the way through 42 East Tennessee. So you look at that thing, like I said, look at that one video that I did on there, and it worked out pretty good. But so we'll get to some news. It's kind of like, you miss so much. The news cycle just goes so quickly that it's crazy how it plays out. But back in April, if you remember Judge Dugan, our favorite judge who concealed a person from arrest. So we did a video, a quick one, No One is Above the Law, back in April. And that one, people were arguing back and forth with me, going, oh, it's not her fault, she didn't do it, blah, 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 all this stuff. And it was like, nope, that's 100%, because now she's found guilty. So Dugan was federally charged with felony obstruction of a federal proceeding and misdemeanor concealment of a person from arrest. So that's what she's done. She's looking for total for everything, maximum of 5 years in prison and $250,000 fine. And obviously she'll never, probably practice law, but she certainly won't be a judge. And so that's kind of, no one's above the law. That was the whole point. And they said, oh, the President Trump's not above the law and all this stuff. Yeah, rah, rah. Well, neither is this judge. So this conviction, Trump administration is basically a win against interference in immigration enforcement, with officials stating no one, including judges, is above the law. But it's sad, but that's what happens. When you mess around, you find out. So that's what's going on in there. And then we'll go to our favorite. We'll go to our mailbox. We have a bunch of newspaper articles that came up this week that I kind of wanted to go through. And the one big thing that were a lot of people are talking about, the Epstein Files that came out on here. And they're obviously, the Democrats are screaming that not enough information came out. Well, I'm like, all right, well, let's compare the information out that President Donald Trump is putting out versus what President Biden put out. Figure that one out. Okay. So what the difference they're looking at, and I'm looking at this too, truth between lines, this is my opinion. We're just kind of talking live, but it's one of those things like, all right, yep. Check and chat. Make a trade us. Hello. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. But, it's like, here's my thing. If you're a celebrity, if you are Michael Jackson, Mick Jagger, Walter Cronkite, Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker, Diana Ross, and all of the others, including President Bill Clinton, maybe you don't want the Epstein Files to come out. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that one? These guys are all just sitting around, just kind of like doing the thing, like, hey, I hope it doesn't come out. And then all of a sudden the pictures are all just blared out everywhere. And so it's, if I was a celebrity and I was visited Epstein Island, even for the most innocent things, because I was just there passing through, and now all of a sudden I'm named in all of this, I'd be pretty upset if that were the case. And there was a couple people, a Democrat from California, Representative Ro Khanna. She warned that department officials could face prosecution if they withhold or heavily redact Epstein files that are required to be publicized under the new law. Well, why didn't they prosecute President Biden and his DOJ when they didn't withhold or didn't give out anything and withheld everything? So tell me about that one. And this is, okay, by the way, this is the article. It's in USA Today by Bart Jansen and Sarah Wire. Okay, so this is the article. You can see my highlighted notes in there and everything else. But it says many of the documents released are heavily redacted, limiting what new information might be gleaned after the month-long push by survivors for transparency. Well, where were those survivors for the past 4 years? When were those survivors? Okay. All right. Mike Atreides, where were those names when President Biden was president? Let me know where that was. All right. But why is it just now coming out, the month-long of survivors saying, hey, we want this information now? Okay, that's the problem I see. And none of the celebrities have been accused of wrongdoing with Epstein. But if you read through this article, there's a paragraph here. It says the Attorney General does have the ability to redact or withhold information that personally identifies victims, fine, or would jeopardize an active federal investigation. So I'm wondering now, all of those people that I just named, plus all of the other names that could be in there, is there an ongoing federal investigation into that? And is that why it's redacted? Yeah. So if I happen to visit Epstein Island at one point and there's something fishy about what I did or said or saw, I'm wondering if there's a federal investigation going on. So watch out for that. Watch out what you ask for. That's kind of the interesting thing going on there. And I like this paragraph right in the middle of the page right here. It says, but Clinton has denied knowing anything about Epstein's alleged sex trafficking. His spokesperson, Angel Irina, said on social media Clinton was among the people who knew nothing and cut Epstein off before his crimes came to light. He knew nothing, but why would you cut off somebody? Say you have a friend. Say you have a person, associate that you just know. Why would you cut them off if they didn't do anything wrong? Why would you do that? So I'm looking at that paragraph like, let's read between the lines, because this is truth between lines. Why would you put it on there that, hey, you cut him off before you knew anything was wrong? Yeah, well, that's a problem right there for me. So there's that. That whole Epstein thing is crazy because again, President Biden should have brought something up on there and done something with it to it, but obviously he didn't. He didn't do anything at all. So what are they actually hiding? What were they hiding on that one? A couple other things going on. How about the reclassification of marijuana? Let me know in the comments in the chat. Let me know what you think about the reclassification of marijuana. Is that going to be a big deal? I was living in California when marijuana was semi okayed out there and they were allowed to sell it and do all that stuff. So, is this could be a federal thing where money, I mean, it's crazy to think about. Some states have already done it. I'm in between on it. Actually, if you ask my friend, Dr. Paul Chabot, the one I did the interview with, says reinvented here and there. He had a big thing about marijuana in there. He'd be able to tell it, do the whole thing. So, all right. As I take a break about the medical of marijuana and the reclassification of marijuana, good boy, Cookie U8JA3B. So anyway, there you go. Thanks. Hey, I don't even care. Thanks for coming on the chat. I appreciate it. I'm kind of new at the live thing. If you're just tuning in, this is actually only, I forgot to count. I think number 7. This is number 7 for my live chats. I'm still really getting into it. Still trying to figure out the bells and whistles. And one of those things where I'm looking at doing a radio show coming up. I know I need a lot more personal practice first before I do anything else. So, we'll look at that one. Yeah, 6-7 was easy to remember. I can't tell you I'm going to be at 6 o'clock on Sundays, but so I say between 6-7. So anyway, guys, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know how old you guys are, but that 6-7 thing's not going away for a little bit, at least for a little while. Anyway, back to the news. Let's talk about that. One thing, the President Trump did address the nation. He came out on Prime TV. I think that was amazing, and I think everybody had a glimmer that he was going to be talking about Venezuela and what's happening there. And then, of course, he doesn't talk about that at all. He talks about the victories that he's had over the past year, or at least close to a year: border security, inflation, wages, and global security. And, okay, you're 40 years old. Okay, I was making sure. The 6-7 thing, yeah, I'm 47, so I'm with you on that one. But anyway, back to the news. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat if you're watching for later on in life. But it was good to hear him say that, and I think that's the communication that we need to have across the board overall. And so we'll see. And he also announced the Warrior dividends going on for the 1776 money going out to all of our active military. I think it's really good overall that they're getting the money. Obviously the families, I think they obviously deserve raises. They deserve praise. They deserve everything they need. The only problem I kind of have, which I'll go on record as saying, is I'm really worried about the national debt, the 38 trillion, going to 39 trillion. I'm really worried about that. So just paying off money, giving money away, essentially, even to the people that deserve it, is hard for me because that's not how I would run my household. If it was my budget, my personal money, I'd pay off my bills. I pay the high interest loans off before I just started giving out presents. So that to me, it's hard. It's a balance of, hey, yeah, I love the military, but that's the thing on that one. So those Warrior dividends, the money that's being sent out, the 1,776, that's what I'm referring to. And those stuff. I'm both ways, but I do want to see a politician somewhere along the line, a president, come out and say, here is the way we're going to stop the deficit. Here is the way we are going to bring down the national debt. It's not sexy. It's not popular. It's not going to get you elected. But that's kind of the thing that I want to see happen. And I did a lot of traveling, like I mentioned earlier, cross country, had a lot of time in the car. I basically spent 7 days in the car. Heard a lot of podcasts throughout the time. One thing I was listening to, I can't even remember who it was, but I was listening to the FDA president, the FDA chair, secretary, whatever it was, the FDA, came out and literally admitted that kids had died from the COVID vaccine. I'm sorry, let me start over. Kids had died from the COVID vaccine. I thought that was crazy that was said out loud. I always kind of thought that was an issue, that people had died from the vaccine. I didn't know kids did. That's really, really sad. So that was really interesting that they would admit that out loud, that kids died from the vaccine and not necessarily COVID. So yeah, that was a crazy one. All right, let's get into this though. This is the paper. This is December 7th. This is actually Pearl Harbor Day a couple weeks ago. But again, like I said, I missed last week. But this is one of those timing things that probably should have held off on on publishing this in the newspaper, because this is rhetoric about Somalis raises alarms. Okay, so there's that one. If you'll notice, there's 4 people that wrote this half-page article. 4 people from writers, and they went through this whole thing where I'll read it to you, but the subject line, the opening paragraph of what I'm discussing is: during a closed-door White House meeting in his first term, President Donald Trump demanded to know why the United States was accepting immigrants from expletive countries like Haiti and some African nations, remarks widely reported at the time by writers and other media outlets. Okay. All right. So there was the premise of this article. Critics contend Trump's words normalize racism. Well, the interesting thing this time, so this is the other article. This is the 4th article down. This time around, Republican members of Congress stayed quiet, although Vice President J.D. Vance banged the table in agreement. All right. So I'm wondering right there. I mean, are they endorsing J.D. Vance because he's agreeing with President Donald Trump's rhetoric about this? So it's kind of like, all right, if you like what President Trump is saying, here's the vice president who more than likely is going to run for the president. Are you endorsing him on that one? Because if that's what you like, go with it. But Latasha Brown, the co-founder of Black Voters Matter Fund, says we're dehumanizing and targeting people. And she's referring to the racism and the rhetoric that goes on with President Trump. But dehumanizing and targeting people. You mean like calling them Nazis and fascists? Do you mean like that? Is that what they were doing? Because that's not what Trump said. But when you target people and calling them names, yeah, it goes both ways. Latasha Brown. Okay. But Treasury Secretary Scott Bassett said last week that his department is investigating allegations that tax dollars from Minnesota were diverted to militant groups Al-Shabaab in Somalia. So again, this is December 7th. I'm 2 weeks late. My apologies, but it's kind of funny that they were just talking about it on December 7th. Lo and behold, Tim Walz in Minnesota decided to give away billions of dollars, and it's been proven. People have been found guilty. It is happening right now that money has been sent overseas to different countries, including Somalia. So it goes on to say on December 3rd, Trump doubled down on his comments, telling reporters in the Oval Office that Somalia is considered by many to be the worst country on earth and accusing Somali immigrants of having destroyed the country. Well, is he wrong? Doesn't say anything about right or wrong. It just says that's what he said. Okay. So these guys are for Reuters. The 4 authors don't want to say whether it's right or wrong. They just want to say that, hey, he did it. So that's what they're putting across. All right. So goes on to tell in this article right here. What it goes on to say that he has blocked virtually all new refugees, save for white South Africans whom he falsely claims are the targets of a white genocide. I will read that again to you. This is the paragraph. In many ways, Trump's immigration policies echo his political statements. He has blocked virtually all new refugees, save for white South Africans whom he falsely claims are the targets of white genocide. So here's what my question to you, whether you're in the chat, whether you are in watching this later on in the comments. And then thank you very much for Prosperity Lounge for putting that out there. I do appreciate you guys subscribing. We're getting there. If we can hit 2 more, we'll hit 400. So anyway, back to this though. I love how the writers of this article point out that white South Africans are facing white genocide, which they are. That is a proven thing that's happening, and there's plenty of evidence out there saying it. So the white South Africans, but tell me, put it in the comments, put it in the chat. What race is Haiti? What race is Somalia? What race is any country? Because the only time that you actually see in this thing about a race is when it says white South Africans in a negative tone. So tell me that. Why do they point out that South Africans, that only white South Africans are being targeted? Why is it so inconsistent across the entire board of saying it? And I'm right or wrong, I don't care less. I'm just pointing out the inconsistencies of articles and the way people write things, because that's the big problem that I see. And the last column over here says language carries risk. Historians say there's risk to people of color when authorities use racist rhetoric. Yeah, I completely agree, and that's fine. But again, who are we talking about when we're talking about other countries? Because I don't consider a race to be a country. What race is America? Question, comment, let me know what you think. And then it goes on to talk, one of the last, third to last paragraph. Last year, after Trump suggested during a nationally televised presidential debate that Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio were eating household pets. So that's the paragraph. I'm reading it word for word. Again, it doesn't say whether they did or not. It doesn't say whether they are eating household pets. It just said that Trump said that about them. I mean, he's the president of the United States. He would know. He'd be the one guy that would know what's going on somewhere. Is he exaggerating? I don't know. Maybe that's another video I need to look at. But again, you're just pointing out the bad things of this article about Trump. Again, I'm a fan of Trump. Fine. I'm trying to stay a little bit even keel. But again, I'm looking at the truth between lines on this one. But then we're talking about the last two paragraphs are about U.S. Rep. Ilhan Omar. You remember the one that married her brother to come to America or get him here? So Trump is he. He called her garbage as well. Well, yeah, that's one of those things where I'm not going to disagree with him on that one. But yeah, I'm reading the chat right now. Yeah, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Yeah, I know, again, I don't know for sure. I've never, I've only been through Ohio. I've never been to Springfield, Ohio. I don't know for sure, but if that's dogs and cats are missing, that's clear indication of what's going on there. But anyway, I just continue looking at how many times that President Donald Trump and Republicans in general are in the negative overall and what's going on behind the scenes. And I just want to call it out. And, yeah, the comments say, some people did something, Omar. Yeah, exactly. So on a totally thing I wasn't going to talk about, but it's one of those things where you're looking at all the illegal aliens that are coming across, but all the people that are causing problems. They're causing the shootings. They're causing the truck drivers to run people off the road and kill them. All these bad, horrible things is going on. And a lot of them happen to be non-citizens, or they're here on visas, or they're temporary citizens. I mean, you name it, but they're causing problems. And I'm wondering, put it in the comments and chats, let me know what you think. How is that going to affect the midterms? Because you can talk about in all those articles I just read, how horrible Trump's words are, how bad his rhetoric is, all the horrible things he does. But is he wrong? And that's what we're going to find out in the midterms. So that's it. That is the whole thing. All right. But anyway, let me know what you think. This week is going to be interesting. Maybe I do need to look at a super chat. I don't know if you know what that is, to be honest with you. Maybe that's something that happens when you hit 500 subscribers. I don't know. I haven't gotten there. I'm working on the 400. But this week, I got another video for another interview that I did in Southern California about housing, about affordable housing and how that works. We're going to talk about that one. I went through it today. I was finishing the editing on that one, but good on that one. We'll be talking about a Hall of Fame football player that I met. He's going to be coming out as well. And then we got a lot of other shorts happening too. And I'm going to do a wrap up. If you've been please following the Ralph Walker, the hashtag Ralph Walker, I've been doing a lot of videos. That's my grandfather. I'm talking about him. I pretty much did all shorts. I'm going to do a final video. I have no idea how long it's going to be, but it'll be a final video about everything wrapped into one. And I'm trying to be as touching as possible on that because my grandfather meant so much to me. And of course he died this year. So look for that one. And if you can, just go through all the shorts so you catch up of all the stories and all the different things on there. But we have a lot of good stuff happening this week going into Christmas. I think we have a lot to be thankful for as a country. And I'm reading the chat. What is this Sigma boy doing? The calculator is Blood Einstein. Yeah, okay, yeah, retract that one. All right, I'm not sure what you're saying, but all right. So anyway, going into Christmas coming up here, Christmas Eve is a big night for us to celebrate, and then Christmas Day, of course, the birth of our Christ, our Lord. And I think that as a country, we really need to get through this year and focus on the positives that 2026 is going to be. Everyone's always like, next year is going to be my year. Is 2026 going to be your year? Put in the comments and chats. Let me know what you think. Is 2026 going to be the year? And I think maybe a lot of people are just don't know what's going to happen. But with all the negative press that's coming out about everything going on, political world, I think it's time to just focus on the family and friends and just understand what exactly we need to be thankful for. And if you're watching this from America, well, I should say if you're not watching this from America, I'm sorry you don't live in America. If you are American and you're watching this, just be very thankful that we live in the best country on earth. And if you don't believe me, go somewhere else, even just to visit. I'm not saying that to be rude. I'm just saying go visit somewhere else and see what happens on there. But so there's that. Guys, thank you so much for joining the chat. We are at now 398 subscribers, so that is very cool. I'm sure we'll kick over 400. 397. I lose one? That's weird. Did I just say 398? I think I did. Anyway, one of you guys that were in the chat left, I guess. I don't know. I think I said 398. But anyway, we'll pick up 3 here in a little bit. Thank you, Cookie in the chat for subscribing to the channel. So I appreciate that. And I don't know where McDonald's Island is, but maybe I should know. But anyway, check out a lot of things happening right now, and just be thankful again for what you have. So I'm going to sign off. Merry Christmas to everybody. Be fortunate, be loving, be with your moment, with your family, your friends, and just always appreciate what you have. All right. God bless you guys. Merry Christmas. And